let's let's jump into the penultimate topic this weekend. And don't worry, we'll talk about Odell next week, Giants fans. Who knows what's going to happen there at the time of recording? Um, we've got a really, really good game on Sunday. We've got the Bengals going up against the Chiefs. It's in the late window at 9:25 in Ireland. I'm presuming the game is on television in Ireland. I will confirm that in the comments. It's really interesting because after what was a really sort of tough start to the season, Joe Burrow has led this team into contention. And you have to argue he is now, and we've said this on our first podcast, that he is playing like an MVP candidate. Can he average that out over the last few weeks of the regular season? And it's funny because Tyler Boyd compared the game this Sunday as like Manning against Brady. It's like it's only the third time that Burrow and Mahomes are actually meeting. So Burrow's 25, Mahomes is 27. So you're going to see these guys go up against it for the next 10, hopefully 10, 15 years. Joe Burrow came out this week, Mark and Michaela, saying that he expects Jamar Chase to play, saying we'll see how it goes the rest of the week. So that obviously does play a lot into it, and I know it's hard to make a pick or to give your suggestion if you're recording on a Wednesday. But Chase hasn't played since that win over the Falcons in Week 7, and the Bengals, for me, Mark, have done really, really well in the line. The line looks a lot better in terms of their protection. They're 27th in pressure rate. They're third in the league in rush EPA per play. They are getting there. Joe Burrow has been given the space to make his plays. If Jamar Chase plays, and if Joe Burrow and the line hold up, I am taking the Bengals to upset the Chiefs this weekend. And frankly, I think it's going to be a hell of a game. But I think with the game being in Cincinnati, that could be the X factor. But I'm all in on this whole Burrow bus for the rest of the season. This is going to be a hell of a game on at the weekend.
Yeah, there's kind of two things to it. Like, if Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon are back and they lose, then, it creates that narrative going into the playoffs that you kind of don't want. You are on full strength. But one way or another, it's kind of a win-win for the Bengals, because at least they'll be able to come back and say, oh, yeah, well, those guys weren't fully healthy. And, maybe they don't even play in this game. Whereas if they do go and win, it's a confidence shot on the line this week that whoever is able to come away with this game, like, I'm not going to say you don't want to put too much on paper. I don't think the Bengals are in a position to do that as they chase the AFC North. The Chiefs maybe somehow can do that because they definitely have the AFC West. I think there's even clinching scenarios in place for the AFC or for the different teams for the Chiefs. So I'm excited to see it if those players play, but what I kind of want to see from the Chiefs is, I know their run game is kind of developing now that Clyde Edwards-Helaire has been put onto IR. So Isaiah Pacheco is after taking over that number one running back position. I know coming into the season, a lot of people were excited about him, whether it was fantasy or real life, and he has kind of started to produce more. Look, in December, that's especially important. I do know that obviously they have, who do they have behind him? Jarrett McKinnon, and even Rondell Jones is on that roster as well. So I'm excited to see what kind of, what they can kind of add in Kansas City to the offense, which has been the most explosive in the NFL so far this year. So I'm kind of thinking maybe they hold that card in their back pocket for a few more weeks, that we won't get to see how this is going to change as we get into the playoffs. And maybe that's not going to go in the Bengals' favor, that they're going to have to put all the chips on the table, whereas the Chiefs won't. In terms of who wins it, I think it's an absolute coin toss. I think that the betting line isn't as favorable to the Bengals, and I know we talked about them at the top of the show, so we don't need to really go into it again. But like, Kansas City is flying on all cylinders. I think the Bengals, though, because like we were saying, that they're under the radar, that a win here is kind of massive for them. And the game as a whole is massive to them, because do they want the headlines or not? I think it's kind of unfair what's going on with them, because last year it's like we almost got bored of this whole narrative of, oh, the Bengals are good, and now we're not giving them credit. But like, if Jamar Chase comes back into that offense, it's like I would rather watch that Cincinnati Bengals offense than the Bills at the moment.
Oh, there's your Instagram reel moment, or TikTok reel moment. That's
Yikes.
pretty interesting. At the time of recording, Juju's sick. So, Michaela, this is a toss up on Sunday as far as I'm concerned. Burrow is really playing into himself the last few weeks, isn't he?
Yeah, I think the Bengals didn't start off well this season. And Burrow is obviously in kind of the talks for the MVP race. So he's obviously, playing well, back to kind of doing what we know he can do. And then obviously Jamar's been out a good few weeks. So like if he comes back, like it's just hopefully like it's just going to be, that lightning in a bottle thing. But they are like their connection is just probably is like unbelievable. It's probably the best in the NFL between quarterback and wide receiver, and that's probably because they're at LSU together and won the national championship. But I can't see them. I think they've bounced back really well. I don't really see them beating the Chiefs though, because obviously Mahomes is favorite to win the MVP, probably him and Jalen. And he obviously has Travis Kelce. I was actually sitting here and I was like, Patrick Mahomes has like how many thrown touchdowns, like 26. And I'm like, who is he throwing the ball to? Because it's like, I think Juju only has 4 touchdowns and he's probably like his top receiver. And I forgot about Kelce for a moment because obviously Kelsey's a tight end. And I was like, who is he throwing the ball to for all these touchdowns? But obviously their connection's unbelievable as well. I do think the Chiefs are going to win. I think the Bengals just won't have enough power to keep them going, to keep them beaten, to keep them to beat the Chiefs. That is, I think they'll probably bounce back next week. But I don't see the Chiefs losing. I think it'll probably be a touchdown game. The Chiefs will probably win by a touchdown.
Yeah, I think like for any neutral, as long as the game's half decent to watch, that's what we want in that late window on Sunday. So let's see what happens. Enjoy the game if you are watching it. Patrick Mahomes.
That's on Sky Sports, Michael. You're asking. So for Game Pass user, it is going to be blacked out, but it is going to be obviously on Sky Sports National TV as far as Ireland's concerned.
Boom. And there's also radio, which I'm going to tweet out the weekend. You can, if you are somehow in your car and you've got 4 or 5G, there is radio on TalkSport, which you can get on the app as well if you're in the Republic, or DAB if you're in the North.